Welcome to the Teaching Autism and Special Education Community Podcast. Hi, I'm Nikki, a passionate special educator, autism advocate, resource creator with over a decade of experience, and you may know me as the face behind Teaching Autism. This podcast is your go-to place for practical tips, hands-on strategies, and inspiring and funny stories to support special educators all around the world, whether it's building independence, creating engaging lessons, or finding that elusive work-life balance. I'm here to help you thrive inside and outside of the classroom. Let's dive into today's episode and make a difference together. Hey friends, and welcome back to the Teaching Autism and Special Education Community Podcast. I'm your host, Nikki, the face behind Teaching Autism and a lover of chewies, fidgets, and reminding everyone that your students spinning in a swivel chair is not wasting time, they are regulating. Today's episode might ruffle a few feathers, but I think it's one that we need to talk about. And that is why sensory breaks aren't breaks, they are regulation tools. So if you've ever been told things like, oh, they're just getting out of work, or oh, they need to learn to sit still, or you're spoiling them with all those breaks, then grab a cuppa of your favorite drink, friend, because we are about to shut that right down today with science, strategy, and some good old sped teacher truth bombs. First, let's define regulation. So let's start here. Regulation is the ability to manage your emotional and sensory state so that you can participate, engage, and learn. Now, most neurotypical children learn regulation through typical development, routines, and co-regulation with adults. But for many of our neurodivergent children, especially those who may have autism, ADHD, trauma histories, sensory processing disorder, anxiety, regulation is not automatic. It takes support, practice, tools, and breaks that actually meet their sensory needs. So a sensory break does not equal timeout. This is the biggest misconception that I think I see. Some people think that sensory breaks are just timeouts with bean bags or a treat that lets students avoid work. So I want to reframe that really quick. A timeout is actually where you remove a student from a space, usually as a consequence. However, a sensory break gives a student a tool that will help their brain and their body return to a state of regulation. And this is so that they can access learning again. So that's what the difference is. We don't give sensory breaks instead of work. We give them so that students are in a place where they can access and do the work. And the research is clear on this. So I'm going to back this up with some science. According to research in 2014, children with sensory processing challenges show measurable improvements in attention, participation, and behaviour when provided with individualised sensory supports and routines. And there was a study in 2008 in the American Journal of Occupational Therapy by Case Smith, which found that incorporating sensory-based interventions into our classroom routines can help to improve engagement and reduce negative behaviours because sensory input directly impacts the nervous system. It's not extra, it's essential. And breaks aren't a one-size-fits-all. So here's the kicker. What counts as a sensory break will look different for every student. And I'm going to give you a few examples of this. So for student A, they may need to bounce on a yoga ball for 3 minutes between transitions. For student B, they may need noise-cancelling headphones and a dark corner to escape auditory overload. Student C may thrive on heavy work. So think of things like wall pushes or carrying a crate down the hall. And student D just needs a quiet spot to fidget or trace some calming visuals with their finger. These are not luxuries. These are self-regulation tools. And if you take them away as punishment, then you're not actually teaching accountability. You are removing access to what their brain needs to stay regulated. So breaks are proactive. They aren't reactive. So I want you to stop thinking of sensory breaks as something we give after a behavior. So instead, I want you to think of them as proactive support. A well-timed break can prevent meltdowns. It can improve focus. It can reduce aggression, and it can even increase the time that a student can spend on a task. So I want you to try and build breaks into the day before students fall apart. So think of after transitions or between lessons, maybe following noisy environments, or maybe when you notice some early signs of dysregulation. So think of things like wiggling or zoning out, fidgeting, chewing. And don't forget, you can absolutely use visual cues, timers, and movement cards to keep these breaks structured but flexible. Now, a question that always comes up is, but what if they just want to get out of work? So let me say this clearly. Avoidance is also communication. If your student is using sensory breaks to get out of work, ask why the work feels overwhelming. Is it too hard? Is it too easy? Is it too long? Is it too unstructured? Maybe it's just not meaningful. Sensory breaks aren't the problem. They are a symptom of something deeper. So I want you to address the root, modify the task, and give them both the support and the tools to return when ready. So I'm going to give you now some easy ways that you can build in sensory breaks, because you don't need a full sensory room to make this work. So some things that you could try are to have a small sensory corner with some fidgets and visuals. Or you could have a walk and breathe break up and down the hallway. You could have a movement break with things like animal walks and stretching. And I'm going to link to a bunch of those in the show notes because we use these every day. They're amazing, so you can head over, download them, and try them out with your students too. And then heavy work tasks, so things like carrying books, cleaning tables, even things like mindful sensory jars, putting on some calming music, having access to chewing tools. And let the student help pick what works best for them, because giving them this choice and this autonomy, that is what is going to give us the regulation. So what I want to do now is rethink the word break, because maybe the issue isn't what the break is. Maybe the issue is what we call it, because the word break does sound like free time, things like recess and avoidance. So what if we reframed this? What if we called it something like body reset time, or a regulation pause, brain prep, a focus recharge, maybe nervous system support, because that's what it is. It's not a break from expectations, it's a bridge back to learning. So let's stop seeing sensory breaks as optional and rewards, and let's start treating them for what they really are. And that is essential regulation strategies for students who process the world differently. Because when we do this, we're not just going to reduce that challenge and behavior. We're going to create an environment that feels safe to our students. We're going to show our students that we respect them and their individual needs. And we're going to give our students the tools to stay in the classroom and be part of the class and access the learning instead of being removed from it. And that is what inclusion really looks like. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If this episode gives you a new perspective, or if you're ready to build sensory breaks into your day, then head over to the show notes. There's a bunch of visuals, schedules, movement breaks, and support tools waiting for you. And don't forget to tag me on Instagram or Facebook, TikTok at Teaching Autism if you're setting up a new sensory space or trying a break system. I love seeing what you create. You've got this. Your students are lucky to have you. See you next time.